started the anthem, we've gone down. So is this it? Is this it for the night? Am I standing between the exits and you? That thing feels like my tombstone. That joke was provided by Tom Young of CAA. Harlan, who's left, I guess he didn't want to hear this speech. He mentioned his agent. Jeff mentioned his. Mine flew just as far as Jeff's. I also had a connection. You're not that cool. Way to go, Tom Young. Okay, I promised you earlier that this would be quick. I am going to do my best to keep this at a nice pace so that we all get out of here before tomorrow. But I do want to tell you how special this award is. I want to thank the NSMA. I want to thank Dave Gorin. And I want to thank Wes, who's done a hell of a job, as he always does. Another round of applause. Nobody ever thanks the MC. Says a former MC who never got thanked. I want to congratulate the other Hall of Fame inductees tonight. I'm tied into all of them. Roger and my dad were friends. Obviously, Tim, Jason, who I stole from every postseason, and just the art of being a good broadcaster for all you young broadcasters is to find a good writer, steal their stuff, put it in your own words, and they'll never know. And all of a sudden, like, wow, what an interesting nugget by Joe Buck on tonight's game in Philadelphia. It was Jason's. And then Andrea, who is an inspiration to so many, including my wife, Michelle. It's a pleasure to go into this Hall of Fame with all of you. I did not expect this. I don't think of myself in these terms yet. I don't know when that switch will come. If it ever will come, maybe I don't want it to come. But I guess it happens in your brain at some point. I'm 55 years old now. But I have the internal dialogue of a 25-year-old being told that I'm going to go do my first World Series at Fox and being scared out of my mind and everything that came with that, which are doubts and the noise that comes in your head, and you feel like you're a Hall of Famer's kid that's just waiting to get found out as a fraud, and you're not ready for the job. You're not ready for the big game. I didn't feel worthy of that job then in 1996, and I don't feel worthy of this award now in 2024. I share this with my family, both up the tree and down the tree. The name of my book, as Julie said, was Lucky Bastard. That means I've said two bad words up here into this mic, so I apologize for that. I was born in 1969, which is the year that Harry Carey, quote-unquote, left the Cardinals, and my dad's career took off. My mom was a singer and an actor on Broadway. She says and has said since 1969. I have no way of verifying any of that. So we're just going to go with it 55 years later. And my sister, who is obviously in many ways my best friend, my confidant, and somebody who I could not be more proud of, and somebody who's in this business, works every day on the radio in St. Louis. And I remember when she came off the air her first day maybe, and my dad called me and said, "Did you hear your sister?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "She's pretty good." And I was like, "Yeah, she's great." And she is. But it was my sister and my mom and me, with my dad traveling all over the place. But when he was home, he was my dad. I got to go to the ballpark with him night after night, and after the game, I would get to hold his beer on the way out of the press box before he drove me home. So I see Kevin Harlan's press pass for an 8-year-old, and I raise you one drunk father driving me without a seatbelt in a Lincoln Mark 6 down Highway 40 west to the suburbs. But I remember that time in my life, And when people would line up outside the press box to get his autograph, even when he was at his sickest, but especially when I was a kid, I could not stand close enough to him because I wanted every other kid and every other adult to know that was my dad. I would do games into a tape recorder in an empty TV booth. It was one booth over from my dad. It was early 80s, so that booth was always open. No TV games really didn't happen that often, so I got that gift. The greatest gift my dad gave me, and I've been thinking about this a lot lately, is now I'm back in the dad game with 6-year-old twins. And I've told my wife, even though she's caring for her sick mother, that this is a week-long event. I don't want to go home. I want to stay here. I want to live in Greensboro. I heard all the great people that have been from Greensboro. All the things that are here, and I want to stay. But the greatest gift my dad gave me as a kid was letting me know that he wanted me around him, letting me know that I was welcome inside behind that door. And Julie's right, and my mom said it. I knew when I was a kid, if I was going to stay in that room and I was going to watch him work, I had to shut up. I couldn't be like a typical 5 or 6-year-old clanking stuff around and making noise and groaning and being loud. And thank God I didn't, because I learned so much watching him. And one thing I could do was make him laugh. And he made me laugh. He was one of the funniest people in the world. But I could make him laugh, and not many people were on that list. And that kind of got me a free ticket to this master class that I had night after night. And at the time, I was developing my sense of humor, my timing. But I would sit in that booth, and I'd sit 2 seats over, and I'd listen to half a headset and a little audio thing that I could hear the broadcast. My dad's 10 feet right there. The game's right there. And I could watch the game. I could watch him. I could listen. I could think about how I was going to do games. And that's how I started. It was a great way to grow up. And I'm so, so thankful. He threw me on Cardinal radio when I was 16, and then again when I was 18. He knew I could handle it, and I just did it. 1989, I was in Louisville at the age of 20 as the Redbirds announcer, AAA baseball, and the traveling secretary. And I was handing out meal money and plane tickets to Leon Durham, who was like 65 years old, playing first base. And I'm 20, and was a wonderful guy, by the way, but I just did it. I was in over my head, but I just did it. And one of the award winners mentioned the name Jim Kelch, who was my broadcast partner back in 1989 in Louisville, who had been in the minor leagues. And he welcomed me with open arms, and we formed a great friendship and a partnership, and I am forever indebted to Jim Kelch. I became a full-time Cardinal announcer 2 years later. I sounded like Peter Brady going through puberty, but I had my dad and Mike as my broadcast partners, and I just did it. Fox fell out of the sky in 1994, got the rights to cover the NFL. I auditioned in LA, as did Kenny, as did Kevin, who's still not here. Somebody check on Kevin, for God's sake. Oh, there he is, hiding in the back. Hi, Kevin. Remember 1994 we worked together at Fox? I got hired on the spot, but I'd never done football, let alone the NFL. I practiced with my dad. I flew out to LA. I did an audition in a studio, and I got hired on the spot. And I was proud to be there, but I just did it. I got baseball in 1996 as Fox got the rights, and I was there in the World Series in the Bronx, the Yankees and the Braves. Jeter was a rookie, and so was I, and I just did it. And despite all the guilt that I've felt over all these years because of all the head starts I got, and man, I got all of them. I was a Nepo baby times 10, and I make no excuses for any of that. The best thing was my dad was my best friend, and there was none of that pushing or prodding or any of that. But I know that I'm lucky to be Jack and Carol Buck's son. But tonight, on this night, when I go into this Hall of Fame in front of this crowd with the national winners, with the local winners, with the people who are in this business, I'm going to give myself 5 minutes to enjoy what I've done. You hear all the criticism. I'm sure there are critics in this room. Oh, you hate my team. Oh, you blah, 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 blah. I don't hate any team. I hate some of the team's fans. Some of them are nasty. I don't care. I was in San Francisco, and after a game, I'm packing up my stuff. McCarver's with me, and the World Series, I don't know if it was 2010 or 2012, and this guy's like, hey, Joe, look down here. I'm like packing up my stuff. Then this little kid's voice, Mr. Buck, look down, Mr. Buck. I mean, the whole place is empty, and I'm like, all right, I look down, and this little kid goes, I'd like to say fuck you to that kid right now. It's been a great, fun ride with great friendships that I've made for life. That's what I miss from Fox. I don't miss the Mike flag. I don't miss the World Series. I don't miss any. I miss the friends. I miss the people I got to meet, the producers, the directors, the assistants, everybody that just became a part of my life. The greatest lesson my dad taught me, and this is the end of the speech, so you guys get to go home soon, came in 2002 when he was dying in a hospital. And it followed the lesson that he gave me in 1989 when I was leaving spring training, and he and I were driving from St. Petersburg, Florida, and I was going to Louisville to start my career as the Louisville Redbirds' second announcer to Jim Kelch. And he said, remember, these games are not about you. Fans don't care if the announcer's hot. They don't care if they're cold. They don't care what they shot in golf that day. They don't care. If you get hit by a bus going into the stadium, they're still going to play the game and broadcast accordingly. It's not about you. And then in 2002, as he was dying, after he had lung cancer surgery and infections, and he'd already had Parkinson's and was dealing with that, and diabetes and a pacemaker, and you name it, he had it. He said, I hope me laying here for these weeks has taught you that when you get here, it's too late. Live your life, have fun, love your family. This will all be over before you know it. So my number one job is not to be the Monday Night Football guy, is to not to be the World Series guy or the Super Bowl guy or any of that. My number one job is to be a good father. And I think of Kevin because I learned a lesson when I was a young man, and Kevin and I were better friends back then than we are now. We've just lost touch with each other, but I will never forget when I talked to him about it, and he'd be on the road traveling, and his kids would be at home, and he would call home, and one of the kids would answer, and then he would talk to that kid, and he would make that kid hang up, and then he would call back, and he'd have that kid answer, and then he'd make that kid hang up. He wanted all of his kids to know that he was calling specifically to talk to them, because that's how much this kid's meant to him. And that made a real impact on me as a father. I want to be the best dad I can be to Natalie, Trudy, Blake, and Wyatt. I want to be an honorable husband. You talk about lucky. I have these 4 beautiful kids, a wife, Michelle Beisner-Buck, who floors me with her love and patience every day. And yes, I'm here into this microphone, right into that camera, to admit it's scandalous, but I am currently sleeping with an on-air person at ESPN. Her name is Michelle. She is my wife, but she's dealing with a sick mom, and yet we have these 6-year-old boys who don't get it. We just put her mom, in the next level of care, and they don't get it, and they don't feel it, because she's there every day making sure they know that they are loved and heard and provided for. I could not be more lucky. I'm truly honored by this award. I am truly humbled to be in this room, looking at these faces, shaking hands with all those award winners tonight, and happy to share this with my sister, my agent, and so many people that I've met along the way. I will take my tombstone, and I will go home, and I hope you all have a wonderful, healthy, safe ride home. Thank you.